Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. The first episode of 2024. 2024. Man, I can't believe that it's already 2024. It sure doesn't feel like it to me. It doesn't feel like we've actually entered into a new year. Probably because, for me, New Year's is not really as monumental or as an important of a holiday that it is to, I guess, other people, I guess. I mean, there's like certain people out there that think that New Year's is probably like their thing, their number one thing, and that they're so into it. You know, they throw parties, they have people over, they do, festivities or have festivities. And me, not so much. Not as much as I used to do when I was younger. I would go to my grandmother's house and we would have a get-together, gathering. Now that she has passed on, we haven't done that as much. And she passed on a while ago, so it's not like it's like super recently. But ever since then, hasn't really been much of a holiday. I mean, even till now, I've had like people over like maybe a couple times when it comes to New Year's to ring in the New Year. But this year, we were all like pretty chill with just like, being in our own place and doing it with our own families and stuff. Small little get together, nothing much. Just kind of say, boom, Happy New Year, then go to bed, right after. It's not like Christmas. Christmas you could, wait till midnight and then you can do the next day is like full of Christmas festivities, going to other people's houses, opening up presents, maybe going to the movies, going to maybe see a parade or something like that. That's like, more in line of, a full day extravaganza. Whereas for me, New Year's Eve is just like, boom, Happy New Year. And then that's it. At least that's just what I feel, right? That's how I feel. I think that's how a lot of people might feel as they get older. Maybe you're at a point in your life where you're like, yeah, it's a cool little holiday. It's a cool little thing, but it's nothing too major. Also, the fact that it went by so fast yet again, just like Christmas, it was, kind of here and there. Within the blink of an eye, it was gone. And then here we are, back now in 2024. Man, could you imagine? Already 2024. Let's talk about like some of the monumental years that we have experienced in the 21st century. Well, I guess one of the biggest ones was Y2K, right? The year 2000. When that happened, that was a big year. I was only like about maybe 5 or 6. No, I was 7 when that happened, and I don't remember too much of that. I do remember 2010. That was a pretty cool change, pretty cool yearly change when we went to the 2010s. That was exciting. 2020 was another big one. I remember that one too. I remember when that, that was like a new decade awaits. A new decade, a new era of time, the 2020s, the roaring 20s, right? Of course, we're not in the roaring 20s, but, we can only hope like, oh, what if it was, just like back then when it was good and everything was great. And then we got hit with COVID-19 and then boom, it all went to shit, right? That ended up not being a very good year. But can you imagine? It's been 4 years since that happened. 4 years since there was rumblings overseas of this dangerous virus coming over. It's been 4 years, maybe even more. I think people were talking about it in 2019, before it blew up in 2020, before it became a worldwide pandemic in 2020. People were talking about that in 2019 before the turn of the decade. So a lot has happened. You guys remember 2012, right? When we were supposed to die, there was supposed to be a mass extinction because the Mayan calendar ended in 2012. Now, I was one of those people back then that was most likely saying that that ain't going to happen. But I would be lying if I was also just say I didn't watch the clock closely on that New Year's Eve from 2011 to 2012 to make sure we all didn't go kaputs the moment it hit midnight, right? And I was even thinking to myself, like, all right, it's already New Year in Japan. We cool, right? It wouldn't just wait for Pacific time in the United States to end the world, would it? It would start like, as soon as 2012 hit. I have nothing to worry about. And it was all a big just a big, I don't know, we made it up. The Mayans just ran out of room on their calendar, and we made it a whole big thing that, the world's going to end in 2012. They even made a movie called 2012 about the world ending in 2012. Crazy. Now, I can't remember much of the movie. I think I watched it maybe once all the way through. And then after that, I just seen bits and pieces on TV. But I'm pretty sure, I don't know if the movie takes place on New Year's Eve or on the New Year's Day when it becomes 2012. I'm not too sure. I can't remember. But I do remember waiting throughout that entire year and being like, hey, we didn't end. The world didn't go boom. There was no major earthquake. We're completely fine. Thinking to myself, like, damn, they played us. They had us going. And everyone thought that we were all going to die. People thought we were all going to die. And now, 12 years later, we are still here. We're still kicking. And a lot of stuff has happened. A lot of things happen in the new year, including New Year's resolutions, New Year's aspirations. And I guess for me, some of the ones that are, pretty consistent with me that haven't and are not going to change are losing weight still, focusing on health, continuing to lose weight. I'm at, I think, 215 pounds at the moment. I have lost 20 since I began losing weight, since I began working out, and I want to continue to lose more. So that's always a goal. I think that's always a good goal for everybody, and it pretty much is everyone's goal or everyone's resolution is to lose weight in a new year, which I think is very, very good. I think people need to lose weight, and I think the best way to do it is by dieting and exercising. I do. I see all these crazy, commercials for these diet pills, diet injections that make people lose weight at a crazy rate, Ozempic and all that. And I always think to myself, dude, that is crazily unnatural. A crazily unnatural way to lose weight. It's insane. Unbelievable. I don't even know, first of all, I've never been on one of these programs. I never had a diet pill. I've never had a diet injection, right? I've never had that in my life. I wonder, is this pill, is this injection injecting nutrients into your body so you kind of feel like you're satisfied and that you're alive and you don't need to eat food? Or is it a mind trick where it is a hormone or a protein or something that they inject into you or you take from a pill that makes your brain think that you have eaten, therefore you don't eat? I don't know. I'm not too sure. I'm more leaning on to, it being a brain pill, because a lot of pills, at least painkillers, are all brain pills. They just kind of trick your brain to thinking that you're not really in pain when you are in pain, right? Kind of weird. I've always marveled at modern medicine on how crazy it is and how crazily efficiently most of it works, like Tylenol, right? Or ibuprofen. You can take an ibuprofen when you got the flu with a fever, some body aches, and about 90% of those effects would subside for about 6 hours. It's pretty incredible, right? Like, there's no way that we thought that, like, 200 years ago, we would able to, like, essentially take away those symptoms for a period of the day with a pill that you swallow. Like, it's almost incredible to think about it, right? But we have invented that. So if I were to put a guess on like what Ozempic, how it works, it probably is going to be like a brain thing where it tricks your brain or your stomach or whatever into thinking that you've eaten and that you're full of chow when you're really not. I don't know. That's just kind of where I'm zoning in on. I don't really know if that's true, but it could be. I don't know. While I was speaking, my watch was listening to me. And this is a real-time experience. My phone straight up looked up what ibuprofen was because it was listening to what I was saying. Now, I don't know if that's because I was speaking in a way where it thought that I was wondering what it was supposed to do. Now, I didn't read fully what it was on my watch. I just kind of swiped it away. But the fact that my watch unwillingly looked up what ibuprofen was is insane to me. Now, usually it happens when I bring the watch up to my face because I have an Apple Watch, and it activates primarily when you look at it. Normally, like how you tell time on a watch. You're like, ooh, that's the time, right? That was strange. I have to admit that kind of freaked me out. It's already a few days into 2024, and I'm already being freaked out by my technology. Already being freaked out. But back to losing weight in Ozempic. I think that the best way that you can lose weight is diet and exercise. Diet and exercise, in my opinion, make you feel the best. Because I've tried in the past to just eat better. There's 1 year when I began an all-fiber diet, right? I did an all-fiber diet, just fiber. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Snacks too, fiber, right? And it's not enough to eat healthy and that's it. And no exercise. It's not enough. You get to a point in your life where you need to burn calories by moving, by exercising. It's got to be done. Has to be. There is no other way to do it. Eating good can only get you so far, I think, mentally too. Because if you don't eat well, and you begin to eat well, like you start eating well, and you're cutting down calories, and you're watching what you eat, eating the right things, getting away from the bad things, and you don't exercise. For me, I found it a lot tougher to keep that regimen going without exercising. When you exercise, like I do now, and I eat relatively better, I eat relatively less than what I used to, you kind of give yourself a little bit of room to have a little bit of fun and allow yourself to get a little nuts here and there. Now, I push myself pretty hard when I work out. I do. I sweat quite a bit. I'm in there for about an hour. Weights, treadmill, the whole shebang. I do a lot of treadmill. I do more treadmill than I do weights. But when I do treadmill, I mean, I'm miserable. I am pouring sweat. Like I told you before, I'm doing like an incline walk, pretty steep, pretty quick, not as slow as I used to, for much longer than like 45 minutes, right? So I'm on the treadmill for a while, suffering. But I know in the end that maybe I could have a little bit of extra chow tonight. Maybe a little bit more of this, and not totally hate myself because I'm having, something that I probably wouldn't be able to have if all I did was eat better. It's like a yin and a yang. You got to eat well, eat pretty decent, but push yourself very, very hard when you work out. And then it's like an equal balance of feeling good. The feeling good of working out and exercising well, and also the feeling good of eating pretty decent and having maybe a little bit of junk food here and there throughout the day. It's like I said, the both ways of feeling good in one day. And I think if you don't exercise and you just eat healthy, it makes it tougher on you to lose weight, see results, and just the overall happiness of your life. I really do think so. I was miserable when all I did was eat healthy for a short stretch of time. Like, I was just miserable because I knew this is all I could do. This is all I did. This is when I was super unmotivated to exercise. Like, very, very, very unmotivated to exercise. I didn't want to do it. Didn't want to get back out there. Just said, like, I could just eat better now. Maybe I'll lose some pounds. Maybe I'll be a little bit healthier. Maybe I'll, if I eat a salad here and there, I'll cure whatever I have wrong with me. That's not really the case. Just because you eat a salad doesn't mean you're now super, or you're going to be healthy throughout the entire day, or feel good throughout the entire day. You gotta push yourself. You gotta sweat some. You gotta get that heart rate going. You gotta burn some calories. And I feel like if you're going to, do a New Year's resolution, which I think you should, and I think you should do diet and exercise. I think it would benefit so many people out there to do both of those. You probably don't need to go super crazy on the diet, but I do think that you should go super crazy when you work out because it just feels better. You just feel better. Physical challenges, physical endurance, and physical pushing yourself physically, I think is like one of the best things that any person could do right now for your mentals and for your body. Give yourself an actual challenge. Push yourself. Push your body. Comfortably, of course. Don't overdo it, but still push yourself. Add more every week. Get stronger. New Year's resolution. Get stronger. Why not? You can buy a weight for like $10. Kettlebell, I don't know, not too much. Get stronger. Do some push-ups. Maybe go outside and walk. I don't know. There's so many things that you can do to get stronger and to better yourself, man. It's crazy. Another thing that I was going to, for my New Year's resolution was to just lock in. Just lock in everything. I'm locking it in 2024. I'm locking it in. Physicality, work, play. Dear God, I need to lock in when it's playtime. I have not been able to lock in when it has been playtime. I'm talking about Call of Duty. These past few days of the new year in Call of Duty for me have been terrible. If you guys don't know, I play a lot of Warzone with my friends. A ton of Warzone. That's what we've been playing since it came out. We've been addicted to Warzone in the new Call of Duty. And I have been trying recently to just lock in and get wins. It hasn't been easy. Truly has not been easy. But the past few days I've had like a pretty rough patch of me just not performing very well when it comes to locking in Call of Duty and playing well. And it's been mentally killing me how bad that I have been performing. And you know what? This was my New Year's resolution, so I need to find a way to get better when it comes to Call of Duty and truly locking it in. I think that locking in also has become a phrase that is a good one. A good phrase because, like I said, locking in when it comes to Call of Duty is one thing, but locking in when it comes to being physical and exercising is also another good thing too. Locking in also in your profession, your job, right? That's good. That's a good thing too. Locking into your friends, locking into your family, your relationships, just locking in 100%, no half-ass, right? Lock in and let's go. So I think overall, my overall New Year's resolution is to lock in 2024, and I believe that I can do it. However, there's already one that I failed. I have already failed one of my New Year's resolutions, and that was to drink booze every day. I had a glass of whiskey, on New Year's Day, celebratory, right? New year, new me, drink booze every day. Since then, I haven't had any booze. So I've already, fallen off, my New Year's resolution. I've already failed. And, well, I guess I could, try to do it, try to keep going. But let's be honest, I already failed. I already failed that resolution to drink booze every day. So, oh well, I guess we'll try next year. But yeah, that was something that was kind of last minute. Like, you know what? I'm gonna drink every day. Every day I'm gonna have booze, and I failed. So shame on me. I know. I got to be better. I got to have more discipline. But we always got next year, right? We always got next year. But the main resolution, of course, is locking in. Lock in 2024. I guess what was, also quite the rude awakening, I ain't gonna lie, was, always kind of like strange to think about, strange to hear, always crazy. But the new year happened, and before that, there was like a massive, at least, on the timeline of my ex, right? Scrolling through X, New Year happened at midnight, and I was scrolling through X, and just like right before, apparently Japan was hit with a massive earthquake, and I was thinking to myself, like, oh my God, what a horrible way to start the new year. I'm just thinking about, like, I'm pretty sure, like, every new year, like every January 1st, kind of starts off with a disaster or someone dying or something bad happening. And, the earthquake in Japan, the earthquake in LA that same day, like that, I mean, you can't write this stuff. I mean, I straight up could not believe that there was an earthquake that big in Japan. And it was so big that there were tsunami, like, warnings as soon as it happened. Like, get away from the beach, get away from the coast, It totally, like, was just like, dude, it made me think, pretty sure we haven't had, like, a new year open with not a bad thing, right? There's always, like, a bad thing that happens on New Year's Day that's like, oh, look at this, we're already off to a good start. And it never fails. I'm pretty sure there's been, like, a few earthquakes that happened on January 1st and, like, major deaths and maybe, like, some other bad things that happened. But, like, it just kind of brought back memories of, like, I'm pretty sure, and I don't think that this is, I think that this is true, that there has not been, like, a new year or there hasn't been something that bad has happened. And I don't know if it's, like, with things like, it's just bad timing, or it's just like a thing that's like a superstition, like it's just gonna happen, like there's something bad that's always gonna happen, whether it be like a disaster, a killing, or whatever, or someone passing away. It's always something that always seems to happen at the right time. I also kind of went with a new look though for the new year. Now, people who haven't seen me or listened to this and haven't seen me, in a while since last year, I decided to go with a different approach to my appearance. I haven't done this in quite a while, but, being at the new year, I thought, why not, change it up a bit. So I went with a mustache. Only mustache right now. And I, not like clean shaven on my face, but just like buzzed my face, trimmed my face pretty much all the way down, and then just kept the mustache. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. If I can pull it off or not, I don't know. And the inspiration was like Burt Reynolds, Dr. Disrespect, Chris Pratt, those cool guys. That was kind of like the inspiration for this new look. I guess we'll see what happens in 2024, if people dig it or not, but that's what I'm rocking right now on my face. I know I should probably have a camera by now set up, but I don't. Unfortunately, I'm still, I don't got the best studio space, so a camera right now is really not the biggest priority of this show. Maybe 2024 brings in new opportunities, new equipment, and better studio space. We'll see. We'll see in the future of where this show takes us. I also, I didn't really want to mention it too much, but I think that at this point in the show, you can kind of tell my voice is kind of shit right now. I don't know if I'm getting under the weather, if I'm getting like a little bit like a little sicky wicky, if something's going around, what. But I feel fine. I don't feel bad, but I am getting a little bit of gunk in my throat. And usually when that happens, that means I'm getting a little ill. So hopefully what I'm going to do is tonight, I'm going to take emergency. I'm going to take some cold and sinus. I'm going to go to bed early. And I'm going to rest up and try to fight whatever is inside of me and get it out of here. Because I am not a person, and you guys might know this, I'm not someone who enjoys being sick. I think that being sick is one of the worst things that can happen to anybody. Any person. Being sick is terrible. You don't want to be sick. No one likes being sick. No one likes the symptoms. No one likes how you feel. No one likes how long it takes for someone to get better. No one likes it. It's not something that people like. It sucks. It's depressing. The fact that I opened up the new year, 2024, a few days in, feeling under the weather, I mean, it's unbelievable. Like, what have I done to deserve this? I pretty much went through that out the entire holiday season without feeling sick, and you're gonna tell me that I'm getting ill? I'm under the weather? That I need to take medicine? It's not good. It's not something that I want to hear. But then again, I mean, it's kind of expected, right? I mean, being around people, friends and family and stuff like that, being out, it does happen. You're not immune, right? As much as I like to think to myself that I am pretty much immune to all these sicknesses and symptoms, I'm not, right? I'm just a normal man. I'm only one man. And I gotta tell you, the worst thing about feeling sick, or about being sick, I think, is what is happening now, right? The changing of the voice, the changing of the pitch of your voice is, I hate it so much. Number one, it sucks when you're a podcaster because there's no hiding it. You can't do anything about it, right? You're going to sound sick. You're going to sound like shit. And it's not going to be good. It's going to be terrible. And there's nothing really much I could do about it. Number two, besides being a podcaster and sounding sick, is being in public and sounding sick. Being at the workplace and sounding sick. Having to talk to people and sounding sick. Because they immediately think, they're like, are you sick? And it's like, oh God, that is so annoying. It's so annoying because, like I said, there's no way to hide it. You can't be like, pretend like I'm talking like this on purpose because I'm weird. Like, no, that's not going to happen. No one's going to say that. No one's going to be purposely talking in that way to someone else. You're just not going to do it. That would be so silly for you to do that. Nobody in a right headspace would be talking in a weird pitch. First of all, you probably couldn't do it for that long without like trying very, very hard and making it like super noticeable. Unless you're like a big time actor, in which case, congratulations, you should be an actor somewhere. But like, you're not going to talk like funny like that all day just because you think it's funny. Like, that's just not going to happen. So yeah, I'm feeling a little under the weather. It's a little mild. It's mainly in my voice, and I had a sniffle a few times today, so that ain't great. I gotta tell you, it's not a good feeling, but hopefully I can prevail from this horrible, horrible feeling. As I was talking earlier about gaming with my friends, playing a lot of Call of Duty. Not only do we play Call of Duty, but we like to chit-chat a lot. We chit-chat about a lot of things when we game. And this past weekend, over the New Year's weekend, we were gaming, we were playing COD, and the conversation came about, right? A conversation I think that, I am very one-sided on, and my friends, most of them, are on the other side. And that is the fact that I do not give a damn about Halo 3 ODST. If you don't know what that is, I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown of what it is. So Bungie, back in the day, after they made Halo 3, y'all know Halo, Master Chief, Spartan, the green guy, the super soldier, the hero of humanity, the hero that you play. After that game concluded, the story of that trilogy concluded, Bungie had an idea for you to play in the universe of Halo, in the same conflict as that is in Halo 1, 2, and 3. Following the Master Chief, you will be playing as a human being in ODST, Orbital Drop Shock Trooper, right? A normal dude in the same universe fighting the Covenant, just like, a few clicks away from where Chief is fighting, and throughout the time period between like Halo 2 and 3, I think. Something like that. I don't know the exact details. Someone I know probably does. Actually, he does know, but he's not here right now. But essentially, you're playing as a ODST unit in this game, or you eventually get to that point. However, and I'm going to spoil it because I don't care, right? This game's been out for decades. You can play it. Close to decades. So you play as these ODST guys, right? And, at this point, we don't really know too much before this game is released. Like, how different is it going to actually be? Like, because when you play Halo for the first time, there's some very, there's some things that are in it that make it distinctively Halo, right? Your guy, Master Chief, has shields plus health, right? There's it's pointed out to you that you have a shield that regenerates, but you also have health in a way that, so it's like your shields are down, but you can still take some bullets, and then if you take too much after that, you die. Right? That was a mechanic in that game that kind of made it stand out, that made you kind of like pay more attention to your health. Whereas Call of Duty, back then, there was no health bar. You didn't know how much health you had or how much you were taking, so you kind of had to guess between just based on how much blood was on the screen. In this game, ODST, like I said, you're a normal dude. You're just a normal guy. Just a special operative soldier in the Halo universe. And it was marketed as, your guys are jumping in hell first into battle, and the trailers were so sick. They were so cool. It was like you were landing in a very, very hot war zone, fighting up, against all odds to defeat the Covenant. The cool perspective is that you're actually humans and that you have a chance. and that you can fight for your own. You can stand up to your own, or on your own. You don't need Master Chief to help you out. And it was such a cool premise. And it was, for me, the actual game was one of the most disappointing games that I've ever played in my entire life, because of the fact that the beginning of the game is just your ODST guy landing in an abandoned city trying to find his ODST squad, and it taking so much time to get to that point that when you're playing that first mission, you're sneaking around, being stealthy in a Halo game? Absolutely not. I'm sorry, but that is not what, first of all, what Halo is. Second of all, what it was marketed as whatsoever. When I wanted to play ODST, I was playing it because it looked like you were going to be fighting head on with these bad guys right from the jump. And yet you do, but not in the epic way that they show you in the trailers. I thought we were going to get something more like along the lines of that than what we got from the beginning of this game. This horseshit game. And the story is so boring. The characters, I think, are so dull. And there was really no, in my opinion, reason to go back and play it. I mean, it's mainly a filler game. The game is mainly filler. It's a cool perspective. I just felt like it was kind of mismarketed in a way where it's like, oh, it's not as epic as what these trailers are making it out to be. It's kind of weak. It's more on the weaker side of what they were trying to, I guess what they were marketing in the first place, if I'm being completely honest. And I was so, on one side, and my friends were so on the other side, and they love that game. They simp for it all the time. They're like, ODST is one of the best games. The ODST are so cool. I'm like, what the fuck? Did you not play the first 3 games where you were literally the coolest guy to ever grace video games? You were Master Chief, and you want to play as these ODST over Master Chief? I don't understand. What? In what way do you think that ODSTs are cooler than the Spartans? Yeah, of course. Okay, sure. They're normal dudes, right? But it would have been a cool game if it actually lived up to what it was promoted as. It was promoted as this unified squad and going into battles together, and wrecking shit. And you do that, but it takes a while. And it's just it's so weakly done too. The first impressions are just ugh, this is boring. Why are we not as a unit? And I understand the game kind of takes its turns and saying it throws you away from your team. You got to come back and unify, and it's cool. It's got a cool build up and a cool climax. But I just feel like it was so weak throughout that it's just ugh. I don't care. I don't care. But yeah, I totally, as much as people think that, that game is good, it's not good. It was essentially Microsoft wanted Bungie to develop another Halo game, and Bungie was like, yo, we don't got nothing right now. What do you want us to make? They're like, well, make a game that's similar to Halo 3 and is cool as well. Oh, well, we got these guys that are, Marines technically, but they're more of special ops Marines. We can make it off these guys. It looked pretty cool too. All right, go ahead and do it. Fire away. Green light. Let's get it. And they're just well, this is all we got. I feel also Halo Reach, in a way, is kind of what they wanted ODST to be. The team being a squad, going into battles together from the start, this big conflict. And in this game, ODST, they're kind of grasping the team elements. The story isn't that grand. It's kind of these, hit and run missions. They don't really convey a giant battle, in my opinion, or a huge war too well. But it is, it's all right. It's just like, I feel like ODST was just okay. Like, it wasn't really needed. And that Reach kind of like does everything that ODST should have done, but better. In a way, in like the story perspective, in the team perspective, the character perspective, like, it was just better, in my opinion. I feel like they actually, were able to execute their plans and their vision better in Halo Reach than, let's say, Halo ODST, which kind of felt like they just kind of put it all together just to, put out another game that their studio said, we need a game now. We need a game, another game in the Halo universe. Put some shit out. They're like, what do we got? We got nothing. Like, how about an expansion to Halo 3? I'm pretty sure that was Halo 3 ODST like a expansion DLC? Was it ever that, or was it just like its own separate game? I don't know. Maybe that was like what people were saying at GameStop before it came out, that it was just a DLC. And I'm like, wait a minute, but it's an actual game. Like, it's right here. It's in the palm of my hand. This is a disc. Yeah, I wonder if I still have the disc, because I remember buying the disc and putting it on there, and I think it just changed up the menu in my Halo 3. I can't remember if that's what it was. I really hope I did not sell it back to GameStop, though. That made me very, very sad, because I remember having that disc, or maybe did it come with like 2 discs? I think it might have came with like 2 discs with it, with the story and then the multiplayer. I don't know. I can't remember. But, as much as I don't really care about the ODST stories, the ODSTs themselves, or the ODST campaign, the best part that Halo ODST offered was the firefight, the wave-based survival. Almost like a zombies, not really zombies, but like just like a wave survival in the Halo universe. That was so cool. That was what was really cool about that game, where it was also being put out there for the first time when this game came out, and people were like, "Is this going to be any good? Are people going to like this?" It was actually pretty lit. I have to say, it was a pretty good attempt, and they never really went back to that type of firefight after Halo Reach. 4, 5, even Infinite doesn't really have the same core type of firefight. They're going to bring it back in Halo Infinite, I'm pretty sure, but at the moment it's not in there yet. But that for me was one of the biggest highlights of ODST, and one of the bigger things that was, I think, most fun and most important was the firefight in ODST. That was sick. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we wind down football season, as we have just wound down week 17, about to be week 18, the final week of the regular season of the NFL season, we have also concluded fantasy football. The 2023 fantasy football season is complete. It is over. It's finished. And I can report to you that I did not win the championship. Nope, I did not. I finished second place in my league, which is still pretty good. It's still very good. Last year, I finished 9th in my league. This year, second place. So, massive improvement. We've gotten a lot better, played better, gotten better players, performed better, got hot at the right time, I would say. But we couldn't finish in the end. And it was sad watching. It was sad because I started off okay. I had Cleveland defense who got me decent amount of points. Then I saw Lamar Jackson's incredible performance against Miami. And that was incredible. Nearly 50 points for that guy. And then everybody else played. And then didn't do much. Did not do much whatsoever. David Montgomery didn't do shit. James Cook did nothing. My receivers all shit the bed. Michael Pittman, nothing. T. Higgins, nothing. Calvin Ridley, almost nothing. Kicker, nothing. I normally get very, very sad when I lose in fantasy football because I'm a competitor and I want to win fantasy football games. That's why I compete. That's why I play fantasy football, right? That's why everybody who plays fantasy football because you want to win. Now, of course, there are probably some people that are just in because their friend's league needed somebody else, needed a 10th player or something like that, right? But me, I want to win. I want to win games. I'm a competitive person. So this past week, I had the opportunity to win the league. I went into the playoffs being 7-7, right? I barely got in. I should not have been in the playoffs. There was teams that were better than me, so much better, right? I just happened to get in at 7-7 because our league wasn't that great, right? But I made it in the playoffs, and I went on this great run. I could not believe I beat the number 1 seed in our league. I couldn't believe it. I beat them handedly. I was so happy. I was almost tearing up. I was almost sad. I was crying of how good that felt. And then for me to be in the position to beat and win first place. I mean, I have never been that close in my entire life. I've never even played in the championship game for any fantasy league that I've ever been in. And I've been in fantasy for about 12 years, maybe even more. Like, it was, oh man, I mean, you don't get those opportunities very often. And Jesus, the run that I had been on in the playoffs was incredible. I mean, it was just unbelievable. I had not felt that good about anything fantasy in a long, long time. Most of the times I play fantasy football, I lose, and I am a big loser. And I know that I've said it before, a lot of fantasy football is luck, but when the luck pushes you all the way to the finals, all the way to the first place game, you almost kind of think to yourself like, no, I'm not lucky, I'm just good. Like, I benched players and I started players at the right times, at the right moments. I made the correct decisions. I picked up the right players and I started the right people. And I was thinking to myself, like, you know what? I'm a fantasy football genius. Like, there is no one going to stop me. Like, I was thinking to myself, like, this is pretty much destiny right here. Like me going up against the commissioner for the first place championship game. Like, this is destiny. My brothers are in the fantasy football league, and they were rooting for me. Like, they, of course, like, regular season, they don't give a shit about me, but the fact that I was in the championship game, I was like, getting like, yo, you better win. You gotta win. You need to win. I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. I never feel that when we compete, you know? We're always trying to beat each other. But, dude, I'd never been this close in my life to winning a fantasy football league. Being 7-7. Coming up short. About 20 points short. If my players actually performed, like if they actually played well, I think I would have won. I really, really do. Like, if my receivers, if any of them even played, like any of them even played any better than what they had given me, I'm pretty sure I would have won. Like, there's just no other way of me saying it. Like, I lost 146.96 to 129.44. Right? If T. Higgins, who only got me 3 points, if James Cook played better, who only got me 5.5, or if Evan McPherson, I know he's a kicker, got more than 5 points, If Calvin Ridley got more than 8.2 points, like, I would have been probably a winner. I don't know how much more, but I probably would have won. Like, my guys just did not play well in that in this game. Now that I think about it, now that I look at it, I had Justice Hill on my bench. He got 26.72 points. If I had put him in over let me see, over James Cook, I think I would have won. Let me see. Let me do quick math here. So I had 129.44, right? Yeah. Let me just do some quick math here. This is actually not good. Minus, what did he have? James Cook had 5.50. 5.50 equals 123.94. So if I had 123.94 and I added what Justice Hill got, which is 26.72, I would have had 150.66, and my opponent had 146.96. So really, I mean, it just comes down to how your decisions and your decision making, and mine was just not there. So I'm kind of mad about that. Now that when I lose fantasy football, I don't look at the stats of the previous game because I'm so angry. I just move on to the next week. But now that it is over, if I looked at it after, I would have been kicking myself because I can't believe it. If I just started Justice Hill over James Cook, I would have won. I can't believe it. I can't believe it at all. Oh, man. I just got to say, the inconsistencies overall this entire season in the NFL, when it comes to position players that are skill position, right? Like James Cook, Calvin Ridley, Lamar Jackson, even him who I've been riding throughout the playoffs in fantasy football. The inconsistencies of these position players is pretty baffling. Like, I don't think I've seen a season of the NFL football, and I've watched a lot of seasons, where there has been this much inconsistencies of position players. Running backs, receivers, quarterbacks, tight ends. I mean, just look at, like, Travis Kelce. Right? Travis Kelce has been the best tight end in the league, and he's been the worst tight end in the league. Like, he's been, like, the best and the worst in the same season. James Cook had, like, an incredible game 2 weeks ago, and then the weeks after that doesn't touch the ball, and the weeks prior to his good game, he doesn't touch the ball. It's unbelievable. We got receivers like George Pickens, who, by the way, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, my opponent did not start George Pickens because Mason Rudolph was starting at quarterback. I think everybody would have done the same thing and probably benched George Pickens. I'm pretty sure that week, George Pickens had like close to 40 points in fantasy. Like, it's almost disrespectful on how inconsistent these players can be. And so often, they're not consistent with their play, but they're consistent at being inconsistent. Like, it happens far too often where we get these stretches where players are just like not good for some reason. And, what is it though? I mean, we're about to wrap up the NFL season. And I think that we're at the point now where we could rate and review a lot of teams and a lot of players that are about to wrap up. A lot of players are also probably not going to be playing um, in week 18 just because they've already secured their spots. But if we're to look at what has happened so far in the NFL season 2023, the regular season, and we examine what has transpired in terms of players and teams and who's surprised who. Up to this point, I think we can say the best team is Baltimore, 100% for sure. I mean, like, beat the Niners, beat the Dolphins. I'm pretty sure they beat who they played that was really good. I can't remember, but they beat those two teams, right? Two really, really, really good teams, pretty handedly too. Lamar Jackson, to me, as inconsistent as he has been, the MVP is pretty much a recency award. If you do good at the end of the season, you're probably going to be nominated for the MVP. And at the moment, I think that Lamar Jackson has, been playing his best football in the past 2 weeks. So he's probably going to be nominated, if not win MVP. And you can just tell because if you go on X, if you go on social media, there are so many pundits and analysts and people raving about how good Lamar Jackson has been in the past 3 games. Yeah, but he's also been very, very inconsistent throughout this entire season. He's had a pretty good month, but up until then, it was up and down. It wasn't really MVP caliber, right? As much as I hate to admit it, the person that was also on more of a consistent play was probably Dak Prescott. He had a couple rough patches, a couple of rough games, but I think overall, he's been playing much more consistent than Lamar Jackson has. You got to be honest here. We got to look at what has transpired. He has been playing at a much more consistent rate than Lamar Jackson this season. And now I think he's pretty much not even in the conversation for MVP, right? It's pretty much all Lamar Jackson right now. At a moment, it was Tyreek Hill, which I agree too. I mean, I think he had an incredible first 13 games, and then he got hurt, and then he wasn't, in as many games, and that kind of shakes up his MVP ballot, but he still was pretty damn good. But I just think that the whole award of MVP is so recency bias that people were just chanting and screaming that, oh, Lamar's it. You gotta remember, man, he did not have a very great, middle of his season. It was very, very inconsistent. But it's just a recency award. It's a recency bias. It's how it's always been, and it's always going to be a quarterback on a winning team. It's just you can read what it's going to be, what they're going to be voting for, and right now it's going to be Lamar Jackson. I'm pretty sure. Who else? What teams were? I guess surprises. The Cleveland Browns, obviously. The Browns have been pretty surprising this year, having essentially 4 quarterbacks, throughout this entire run, starting with Deshaun Watson, P.J. Walker, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and then Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco pretty much playing so well that it's almost he's got one more in him, one last ride, even though he might play again next year. He's been playing pretty well. It's been quite the story, of this season. We had the Tommy DeVito saga. We had which came to an abrupt halt when Tyrod Taylor came back, and then we had the year of the backup quarterback. We had so many, from Josh Dobbs to Jaron Hall to Tommy DeVito to Mitchell Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, Jaron Hall, Jake Browning, so on and so on. Easton Stick, Tyson Bagent. I mean, this has been the year of the backup quarterback, and I think we can safely say that also the backup quarterback needs some work because there ain't really much of a threat if you don't have a true starting quarterback in the NFL. So maybe, just maybe, we'll focus on in the years to come in the NFL, focusing on the development of backup quarterbacks and how important they are for an NFL roster. It was not really the year of the running back. There wasn't a whole lot of very incredible running back play. Christian McCaffrey, I think, is the leading rusher, and I think the most touchdowns as well. And after that, it's a pretty big gap. So the running back position, people were on the bubble about it at the beginning of the season. Is it overpaid? Is it not really a something that we can, continue to pay this much money? I think because of how bad the quarterback play has been this past year, it does kind of, open a conversation like, hey, just because the quarterback is paid well doesn't mean he's going to be, be able to play all these games. I mean, there was a lot of quarterbacks injured this year, and you can tell like the scoring of this year has been down compared to previous years, and it's because it relies so much on the quarterbacks. Well, maybe, just maybe, the running back isn't dead yet. The running back is still a very, very crucial part of football. Like, we still need them. Just because you have all these big, awesome wide receivers and a good quarterback doesn't mean that you don't need a running back. You certainly do need a running back. So I think that running backs for this year, after the year, are still safe. There's no dialogue from me for anybody out there saying, like, get rid of the running back. We don't need the running back. Bullshit. That's totally not a point. That's not a narrative. That's not an idea, I think. I think that's been squashed after this year with being so many backup quarterbacks having to play and getting exposed, essentially, to how poor the backup quarterback position is. If anything needs to be beefed up, it is the backup quarterback. Like, there are so many teams that went through so many different quarterbacks because they just got injured so much, and the lack of backup quarterback development is showing very, very, very much so in the NFL. But yeah, those are some pretty, big points, big things that I saw throughout this NFL season. I know it's not over yet, but it's pretty much over. So I'll probably add some more thoughts next week. But until then, that's going to be it for me today, people. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Remember, you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. New episodes drop every Thursday morning. Make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, and do all that good stuff. And yeah, thank you for listening and thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next week.